You know that sinking feeling when you buy a piece of tech, say, a receiver or a computer, and maybe 6 months later you realize you were exactly one port short.
Oh, it's the worst. You're just staring at the back of the unit and you realize you're stuck with what the factory gave you.
And you usually have to buy a whole new box just for one little connection.
Yep.
Right? And that's kind of the consumer electronics trap.
Mhm.
But today we are unpacking, well, the antidote to that problem.
We are.
We're looking at the world of modular AV, specifically through the lens of the Kramer HH-OUT2-F16.
It's a bit of a mouthful of a name, but it's a very, very specific piece of kit with a really clear mission. We're pulling our data from HDTVSUPPLY to understand not just what this little card does, but why a professional would choose to build a system piece by piece.
Instead of just buying it off the shelf.
Exactly.
So let's establish the context first.
Yeah.
If you buy this card, you can't just, plug it into the wall. It's an internal organ, not the whole body.
That's a great way to put it. This is an expansion module. It's designed specifically for the Kramer VS-1616 series.
Okay.
So think of the VS-1616 as a massive, empty chassis, almost like a computer tower with nothing in it.
So it's a blank canvas, the modular multi-format digital matrix switcher, to use the technical term.
Exactly. The modular part is key. The chassis comes empty. You decide what goes in it based on what you actually need.
So if you need, say, 12 inputs and only 4 outputs, you build that.
You build it. You don't pay for ports you aren't going to use.
Which brings us to our subject today, the HH-OUT2-F16. And as the name suggests, this is an output card.
Right. It handles the traffic leaving the chassis.
Yeah.
It takes the signal from the brain of the switcher and turns it into 2 standard HDMI feeds.
So physically, you're looking at a little slide-in card with 2 19-pin HDMI Type A ports on it.
That's it.
It sounds so simple, just 2 HDMI ports. But
Yeah.
looking at the specs here, I mean, the devil's in the details. The source material highlights HDCP 1.4 compliance.
It does, and to the uninitiated, that just looks like alphabet soup.
It really does.
But in the install world, that soup is the difference between a system that works and a very expensive blank screen.
Ah, right.
HDCP is high bandwidth digital content protection. It's the digital handshake between devices that prevents piracy.
But it's also the #1 cause of headaches in AV if that handshake fails.
You get snow or just a black screen.
Yeah.
By ensuring this card is HDCP compliant, Kramer's basically guaranteeing that when you send a protected signal, like from a Blu-ray player or a cable box,
The image actually shows up.
the image shows up. It keeps that chain of trust intact.
There's another spec here that stood out to me because it feels almost retro. 3D pass-through.
Yeah.
I feel like 3D TV had its moment, a decade ago, and then it just vanished. Why is this a feature on Pro Gear selling today?
That is a fascinating point because while 3D, died out in the living room, it never really left the professional space.
Oh.
Think about medical imaging, architectural simulations, maybe even specialized design workflows. They still rely pretty heavily on 3D signals.
Oh, that makes total sense. So if you're a surgeon looking at a 3D model of a heart, you can't have your video switcher stripping out that depth data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pass-through just means the card is smart enough to see the 3D signal and just let it travel through the system completely intact without trying to flatten it or compress it.
Now, we do have to talk about the cost. HDTVSUPPLY lists this card at around $436.
Which on the surface might sound a little steep for 2 HDMI ports if you're comparing it to, say, a consumer dongle.
Right, I can hear the listener now. I can buy a splitter on Amazon for $20.
And you can, but you aren't paying for just the ports. You're paying for the architecture. You're paying for a Kramer factory warranty, for the reliability of a card that's designed to run 247 in a rack that might not get touched for 5 years.
Plus, there's that economic efficiency we talked about. If you only need 2 more outputs, spending $436 is actually way cheaper than replacing your entire 16-port switcher just because you ran out of room.
It scales gracefully. You're only paying for the utility you actually consume. It's the opposite of disposable tech.
It really highlights the difference between gadgets and infrastructure. This card is plumbing for video.
Perfectly summarized.
So here's the thought I want to leave you with today. We live in a world that is obsessed with everything being wireless, small, and, streamlined. But clearly, there is still a market for these massive, hardwired, modular chassis systems. So as devices get smarter and smaller, will these big metal boxes eventually just disappear?
Or, and this is the real question, is there something irreplaceable about the security, the rock-solid reliability of a physical cable?
It's the classic battle between convenience and control.
It is.
Something to think about next time your AirPlay drops out. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.